Hello everyone, this is the third lecture for 01-444-311 Python programming for bioinformatics, and the topics that we are going to talk into detail for today will be about the use of Python data types. The previous lecture we gave you an overview of different data types that have been widely used in Python. Some of the data types are standard and some are commonly used. So this week I would like to give some examples and the way we use these different data types in Python, and which will be greatly useful for mathematics. So, basic data types that we are going to cover in this lecture will start from numbers, string, list, tuple, set, and dictionary. So these are popular data types that we often use in bioinformatics analysis. For numbers, there are three types of numbers you commonly find in the programming. The first one is integer or int. We often assign integer value to an available and to a variable. For example, a equals to 10. So this is a sentence that we assign the value of 10 to the variable a. Okay, so 10 is integer or int. Next one, float. Float is a fraction or floating number which consists of the number, the integer number, decimal point, and decimal numbers, or floating numbers like x equals to 1.10 and y equals to 1.0 or 1.0. Z equals to minus 35.9.59. So these are float or floating number. So you often use floating number to calculate in science, also in bioinformatics, because this kind of number will be suitable for calculating the height, calculating the rate of the reaction, calculating the amount of gene expression. On the opposite, when will you use integer? You will use integer with the counting number. For example, you count number of animal species in a natural preserved area. You count the number of cells. Okay, so the number of cells, the number of animals could not be represented by floating number, so it's better to use integer. Okay, so I restate this data type again because I would want you to suitably use integer or floating number in an optimal condition or optimal situation. Rarely, for the complex number, it could be used in bioinformatics when you will develop or design a program to prove some theory, or to work with the vector Or vector, what is vector? Vector is the amount in mathematics that contains not only value but also the direction. So vector is a kind of data which consists of value and direction. Next data type, strings. Strings will be your common data types. You always have to work with strings in bioinformatics. You have to analyze DNA sequences, amino acid sequences, sequence of numbers, characters. So these could be suitable stored in a string data type. Apart from DNA sequence or biological sequences, text, paragraph of text, long sentences or long essay, long information could also be good to use string data type to store and manipulate, to compare, to adjust, to change. So this kind of data type is very powerful in programming language. For example, in this example, I create 4 variables: S1, S2, S3, and S4. So S1 is a string value of Homo sapiens, or string value, or a string that contains a value Homo sapien within a single quote sign or single quotation. A string can be wrapped within a single quotation or a double quotation. So this is called double quotation. This is called single quotation. Okay, so you can either use double or single quotation. Like in the S1 variable, we use a single quotation to contain a string Homo sapien. The S2 variable, we use a single quotation to contain a nucleotide sequence or DNA sequence. For the third variable, the S3, we use triple single quotation. This is called triple single quotation. So there are 3 single quotation. The use of triple single quotation or triple double quotations, we use them when we want to create a complex string. Like this case, a string with 2 lines. So this is the first line. So the first line and this the second line. Okay, so what separated the second line and the first line? There is a special character we call a line separator or a white space separator. These are special character. In this case, it is a new line character. A new line character in Python is represented by / and n, / and small n. So this is a new line character. So in the text, we might not see this visible to us, but this new line character is hidden. At the end of the line and separate the first line and the second line. So in this case, we cannot use single quotation or double quotation. You need triple, single or triple double quotation for multiple lines text. For the last variable in this example, this is a triple double quotation. This triple double quotation is particularly used when you want to use any quotation sign inside the string. So this string, I said that elephant is a mammal. So this string contains a single quotation. So you cannot, or you should avoid using the same quotation sign which appear inside the string. So to avoid that, in this example, we use triple double quotation sign. Okay, so which escape, we call this action and escape this single quotation, so it can be used within a string. So on the next slide, these are some escape characters. Escape character will begin with backslash character. This backslash character is used in front of any character to represent or to give meaning to Python that these are the escape characters. So please consider this escape character as special character. Okay. So example of the escape character like this, one backslash, so it is mean ignore. Double backslash, so this is when you want to use the backslash sign in a string or in the code. Okay, you put another backslash in the front, so it can be used as part of a string. But if you just only put a single backslash, Python will consider that the character after that single backslash will be a special character or an escape character. So, and it could be wrong. Okay, backslash and single quotation or single quote, backslash and double quote, this is when you want to use single and double quotes as part of a string. Backspace for backslash and B for backspace, backslash and N for new line, backslash and R for carriage return, backslash and T for tab, horizontal tab, backslash and V for vertical tab. You can try this in your practical for the afternoon session by creating a string and add this special character or these escape characters and see what happened as a result on your terminal. Okay, so it is nothing better than try it on yourself and you will learn what they will give you for each of these escape character. And if you have any problems or errors, please feel free to bring those errors and discuss with the TA. For the string objects, there are several ways that programmer can manipulate or can handle string. Simply on this slide, when you have a string, you can slice it. You can cut it shorter. You can select the position where you want to slice or to cut the string, or sometimes in some other textbook it is called substring. Okay, so the pattern that we use for string slicing is the use of square bracket, and inside the square bracket the numbers will be separated by colon, and the number before the colon determine the starting position, and the number after the colon determining the end position. So 0 and 3 in this square bracket determine the starting and the ending position for the slicing. Okay, so if you have only one number inside the square bracket, this means you just only want one position, only want a character or a string at just one position. When we count the position in Python, if for example we have a string of A, B, C, D, E, F inside the double quote sign, so when we want to count, or when Python will count the position, it won't start from 1. It will start from left to right, from left side to the right side, by counting at 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So this is the positive index. From the previous lecture last week, I gave you some idea about positive indexing and negative indexing. So by counting from left to right, this is called positive indexing. Okay, but if we're gonna do negative indexing, so we will count from the end to the starting of the string. So from the right side to the left side. So we won't start from 0. For the negative indexing, we start from -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, and -6. Okay, so for the negative indexing, there is no 0. Okay, no 0 position from negative indexing, but just only for the positive indexing that we will have the 0 position. I think this is one of the key important indexing or counting for the position that is unique or particularly unique in Python programming. So when you will index or slice any string, or also for other types for other data types in Python as well. So you should be careful of counting the position from 0, 1, 2, 3 instead of 1, 2, 3. But in other languages, the position will start from 1, 2, 3, different from Python. But this is unique for Python. Okay. Next operation that we can do with string object is the use of len function. When you see the word and followed by or ended with parentheses, this is a pattern of something in Python and also other languages that we call function. We call it function. What is function? When we learn later on, next week or the week after, you will learn about how to create a function. Creating a function in Python is very powerful because it allows the codes or the programs to be recycled, to be reused by other people without typing several lines of the codes. So instead of people will have to retype or repeat typing the same lines and lines and lines of codes again. So programmer or Python language design a format of function to group those lines and lines of codes into shortened version that we called function. So len function, inside the len function, it contains several lines of codes that previously typed or designed before by someone else, but it's already become standard or built-in function in Python language. So when you use Python, you download and install Python in your computer. So you could use this len function without asking for permission or downloading any extra packages. Okay, so this is called built-in function or standard function. The len function in this case is used to find the number of characters in the string. Okay, so let's say if you have a string of DNA and you want to count how many characters or how many nucleotides inside your DNA sequence of interest, you could use this function to count the number. Okay, type is another useful function. When you want to check a type of the data or a type of variable that you created inside Python environment, as we mentioned in the past 2 weeks, because of Python require no need to declare the type of variable. So you don't have to declare when you write a sentence in Python that x equals to 10. You don't need to declare that x should be integer. Python will automatically learn by the sentence that you construct that it should consider x automatically as an integer. Okay, so in that case, sometimes you have so many variables and you might forget which types of variable that you have created. So you can use type function to double check the type of the data that you assigned to particular variable. So be used to in using this basic function, because but I'm sure when you practice on the exercises for many times and many exercises, and you repeat several patterns, same patterns of the code, I'm sure that you will automatically remember the syntax, remember these important functions. And for the print function, this function is to show or to display the string on screen. Okay, when you create a string and you just call it, sometimes it can be shown on the terminal, but to properly display as a screen on the screen, you better use print function. So print function is to display the result on screen, and in this case the result is stored in the variable s3. So what the print function will do, the print function will print the value, which is a string stored inside the s3 variable on screen. So say again, it is used to print the value of string stored inside the s3 variable on screen. Okay, moreover, the numbers, not only the numbers that can be operated by addition, multiplication, and so on. For strings, we can also use at somehow similar operation on string as well. For example, if we put plus sign in between the two strings that are kept inside the s3 and s4 variable. So what does this mean? This sentence does not mean you add the first string and the second string, but it means you join them. You join the first string in the s3 variable with the second string stored in the s4 variable. This is called string concatenation. String concatenation. Other than using the plus operator, you can also use the function join. Okay, I did not give you more of the code's example in the lecture class because in this semester I prefer you to practice to extend from what you learn in the lecture during the practical session in the afternoon or during the 312 subject. And if you want to use the join function, I am expected that you will search or you will look in your textbook that was given to you, or you search on the internet on how to use this function. Okay, so this slide is made to be simple on purpose because I want you to search to find more information, to find more practical example, and try by yourself on your Python program, on your Python editor, or on your Python terminal. Next things that we can do for string object or string data type is the use of asterisk. Asterisk for numbers is for multiplication, but for string, the asterisk sign is used for the repetition. So if you want to repeat printing the string in variable S4 for 2 times, so you use this syntax. So the string stored inside the S4 variable will be repeated twice. Or you can use in or not in. Remember, these are reserved words used particularly for specifying the membership. For example, you want to check whether character A is a member of a string A, B, C, D, E. So you could use this operator for checking the membership. Next, formatting, string formatting. We use percentage sign. This pattern is popular and very useful for string formatting. For example, if you want to print the same sentences over and over and over, but you have just certain position inside the text or the strings that you want to put and change the value particularly at that or the other position. In this case, we gave a variable name with a value alanine, and we will print a string. Percentage S is an amino acid with full stop, so this is a string, and we use percentage sign followed by the name of variable, which is this one. So whatever value stored inside this variable will be put in this position, percentage S. So imagine you could have a list of names and you want to print different sentences by changing the name at this position depending on the number of string you have in this variable. So this is very useful and very powerful for Python scripting. So we can repeat the result printing or the string printing. Next, capitalize. This function is useful if you want to format your string by just capitalize the first character. Let's say like at the beginning of the sentence, you want the first letter at the starting of the sentence to be capital letter. You can use this function. To count the number of the character, we will use count function, and we can specify which character or which strings that we want to count from a given string assigned in a particular variable. For example, we given this value of string to a variable a, and then we use this pattern a dot count in the parentheses under the double quote o. So what does this mean? We ask a to count, or we count the number of O character inside the A variable and then print it out on screen for how many of the O occurred in the string stored in the A variable. So you see this pattern. This is a variable and we use a dot operator. This is another operator. Another operator allowance to use by the A variable. So the A variable can call the function. So for this syntax, we can say that A call the count function. Okay, so A actually when we learn about OOP later on, you will learn that A will be considered as an object. The object A is a string object. It has ability to call or to use several functions applicable to the string data type or the string object. But don't worry at this stage. You will learn it later on. Okay? But just to introduce some new syntax, so you will be more familiar when you see it later on in this subject. If you want to find the position of a particular character or a particular string, you can use find or index function. You can also make some change or check whether the string is in proper format that you prefer. For example, is lower to check whether your string is formatted to be in lowercase 1, or opposite to is lower, you also have is upper. So this will be useful when you want to format or when you want to check your string. Let's say if you are working with DNA or nucleotide, which the letter that represents the nucleotide normally should be with uppercase letter or capital letter. So if it is not in the capital letter, you can use this function to check and remind the programmer or remind the user, or call the function to transform from lowercase to uppercase or from uppercase to lowercase. Is space is also a function to check whether in the string is there any separator or special character in the string or not. And these are examples of the string formatting operator. So you can either use %C, %S, %I, %D, %U, or small x, big X, small e, big E, depending on the conversion or the type of the character you need to format at that position, whether it should be character or string or integer or different type of integer. You can see decimal integer and octal integer or hexadecimal integer. So these are some different types of integer. You might have learned it long time ago. Binary integer, decimal integer, octal, hexadecimal. So, but rarely we might not use different other types of integer. But For some cases in bioinformatics nowadays, we are using this kind of hexadecimal and octal number as well. Okay. A few more functions for manipulating string. Replace. If you want to change the content within the string, you can use this function. Or if you have very long string and you want to split it, you can use split function to separate a string. In this case, you could separate the string Homer J. Simpson, this is probably a name, assign a string represent in name of person which was assigned to a variable A. So if you split this string, Python might split this string by a white space character or a space bar or a white space character into 3 small strings. Homer, second one J, the third one Simpson. See, when you use the function, sometimes programmer won't only use one function at a time, but we nested the first function. You can see this is the first function which is nested inside the second function. So the first function is the split function, which is called to work with a variable A, and the result or the output obtained from the first function will be the input for the second function to proceed and give the output. So to say it simply again, this is like nested function. The first function will perform first. The innermost function will do the job first, and the output of the first function will be the input for the second function. Okay, and the second function use the output of the first function as an input to generate its output. Okay, in this case, split function is called by the A variable. So when split function gives the output of the split function will be an input for the print function to work and give the next result. Okay, this is the pattern that help programmer to be less headache. Okay, because we don't have to do it 2 steps, we can write them together in one line. So this is what Python or what scripting language is powerful and useful for programmers or for amateur programmer, beginning programmer. Next data type is the list. This is example of the list. We create a list by using square bracket, okay, and separate the value or the item inside the list by comma. And items inside the list can be mixed character or numbers, okay, and we can also index or count the position of the list positive index by using positive index or negative index, but same as what we learned before in a string. For the positive indexing, we will count the position of item in the list starting from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. But for the negative indexing, we start counting from -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, and -6. Okay, these are very important because sometimes when you are beginner and you start using the slicing function or the indexing function, you could be confused and messed up with the wrong indexing position. Okay, by learning this or understanding this at this stage will help you or will give you more precision when you want to decide the code to extract, to slice, or to substring, or to extract the values on particular position inside any data types. So this is an example of the code to create a list. Okay, so we give this list, assign this value to a variable named list A. Okay, you already learned the rules to name identifiers, to name variables. So please remember, letter, capital or small letter do matter for naming identifiers or variables in Python. So this list contains 4 items. This is the 0, 1, 2, and 3. So we could index by using square bracket as well and separate the starting value or starting position with the ending position by using colon sign. We can do so many things with the list. We can replace values in the list using this syntax. So this sentence is we want to assign the value of 100 to item at position 0 of list A. We want to replace the value at the 0th position of list A with the value of 100. So the value at this position will be changed. We can slice a list using similar pattern, but there is one more parameter and one more colon sign after the ending position. The first one is the starting position, the second one is the ending position. What is this? The third number. This is the step, the stepping parameter. Stepping parameter determine the repetition of the slicing to be at every two position or 3 position. So if it is 2, so it at every 2 position from the left to right. If number at this 3rd position is negative number, so it means the stepping parameter from the right hand side. And similar to the operation or the functions applicable to string, for the list we can check the length of the list using len function. We can count the number of items inside the list using the count function. We can index or identify the position of particular item that we are interested. We can also add new item to the list. This is very important. That make list data type mutable. So means the list items can be changed. We use append function. We can also insert particular item at specific position with the insert function. We can also extend the list, extend one list by adding another list or all items of the other list to this one, to the first one. So this is also very useful when you want to combine 2 lists together. You can also remove items from the list. You can specify which items, at which position, item at which position do you wish to remove by using remove function. So these are the functions available for you. So it's your time in the afternoon to try finding examples on how to use this function, because it's very important. Some of these functions might already be been explained inside your textbook, but some might be not. Okay, so try to take your time to learn. Okay, find examples and practice on your own Python IDE or Python terminal. With the list object, you can remove or make your list empty by using clear function to remove all items in the list, so it's become blank list, a blank list, or an empty list. Or the items in the list, you want to reverse their order, you could use reverse function. You can also sort the item. The sorting function will vary its action depending on whether the items are numbers or alphabets in a string. So if they are numbers, it will be sorted by small number to large number. If they are string, they will be sorted alphabetically. You can also have list inside a list, which is called nested list. So this is a list of 2 items being embedded in another list of 3 items, position 1, 2, and 3. But position 3 contains a list which has, oh no, you should not use position 1, it should be 0, 1, and 2. So at the second position, it is a list that contains 2 items of position 0 and 1. Okay, and when you want to index the item inside this second position of the big list, you could use the first square bracket, bracket to define the second position of the first list, and you use the second square bracket to define the position within the second list inside this position. So 0 means the first item inside this second list, which is nested inside the first one. You can also concatenate the list using plus sign, repeat items inside the list using asterisk, or doing the check for membership or not membership by using in and not in. Next data type, the tuple. The tuple syntax for the tuple is the round bracket or parenthesis, separated item inside the tuple by comma. So this is the way to create a tuple and assign or stored inside a variable. Okay, so the equation, the equal sign, is used for the assignment of the value to the variable. We can index the tuple using square bracket. We can slice the tuple using square bracket and the colon. We have similar functions that could also be applied to tuple object or tuple data types, like len for counting the length, counting number of items, index, determine the position of the elements inside the tuple that you are interested. You can also sort using sorted function, find the minimum or maximum value using min and max function. So this is very handy or pretty useful for beginner to repeat or recycle these existing codes inside their program. So people can reuse this function to create newer function, more sophisticated function, more advanced programs using existing code where other people have generated. Next data type which is set. For a set data type, when you will create a set, remember you will use curly bracket or curly braces. Okay, curly braces separate the items inside the set by comma. So this is a set of 4 items. Assign this set to the variable name s. Okay, you can see now that a variable can contain multiple values. So these multiple values or multiple items are grouped together inside a list. But if we go backward to the tuple, this is also 3 values, okay, grouped inside a tuple data or tuple object. We can also add new value using add function. See, the s variable call the add function in order to add the value of 40 to the set. You can also use update function when you want to add multiple items to the set. For example, you want to add 50 and 60 there. So there are 2 items to the set S. So you use update function. You can copy or clone an entire set and assign to another variable. You can remove or discard an element inside the set by using remove and discard function. You can also make an empty set by using clear function. So by learning this lesson until this slide, you might get some clues on how to use this function. Oh, Ajahn, very simple. I can start with the variable and use dot operator followed by function name. If you have this idea, then you're getting good progress. You're getting familiar with the programming style. Okay. You can have different operation for the set as you have learned in mathematics. Like you can do union, include all from the set that been compared. Intersection, only those shared between the 2 sets will be considered or will be printed. Difference, those that not appear in one set, okay, but appear in the other will be shown. Or symmetric difference, those that are not shared between the 2 sets. So this is called the set operation. So whatever you have to do with the set in mathematics, we already have functions in Python for you to use, to borrow, to reuse them, okay, to create a proper or maybe a more complex program or more complex calculations. Last data type that I think we often use and think about in bioinformatics, particularly when we talk about we talked last week about genetic table, genetic code table. We could store the genetic code table inside this data type, which is a dictionary. A dictionary is a format of data that is paired. Is paired data. This paired data consists of two values. The first one is called key and the second one is value. So the key will be like an identifier that we'll use to index or to check for its corresponding value. So with this particular key will be used to derive or to retrieve this value only. So similar to the codon, with this particular codon we can find its corresponding amino acid it's responsible for. Okay, so this paired data is very useful. So for indexing the values or the information. So this is an example of how to create a dictionary. A dictionary have a syntax similar to a set, but instead of one item will have one value, but one item will be paired, consisting of keys and value. Key will be first, will come first, separated by colon and followed by the value. Okay, the value or the key could be characters, could be numbers. Okay, it depending on the types of the data. So in this case, this dictionary named D contains 3 pairs of values. The first one, the key is 100, corresponding to the value of a character. The next item, the key is 200, which corresponded to the value of B character. The last pair is the key of 300, which corresponds to the value of C character. Okay, and there are several functions that we can use to play with this data type. So hash key we use to check for a key of interest. For example, if we want to check with this dictionary whether it has the key of 100 or not, then we can type 100 inside the parentheses of this function. So this function will check this parameter, or sometimes whatever we put inside the parentheses of the function, sometimes we call it argument. Or maybe parameters for some textbooks. And the arguments can be more than one, can be 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. You can put the key inside the square bracket in order to index for the value. Okay, to get the value from the interested key. Okay, or you can use this syntax if you want to change the value corresponded to this particular key. You can delete the value by using del reserved word. Okay, this is a reserved word that we learned from last week, and this is the name of the dictionary, and inside this square bracket is the key. So what does this mean? This means please delete the value corresponded to the key of 100. You can also remove all entries inside the dictionary to create an empty dictionary. You can delete an entire dictionary to get rid of it. If you don't want this dictionary dog anymore, just del it. You can check the length of the items in the dictionary. You can clear all elements with the clear function. You can get the value associated with the key. You can get the keys, all the keys associated within that dictionary. Similarly, you can get all values associated with an interested dictionary or with a specified dictionary. You can get all pairs of keys and values inside a dictionary using items function. You can duplicate a dictionary using copy function. You can update a present dictionary with another dictionary. So you want to add all items in the dictionary named X to the D dictionary. So this syntax is very powerful, very short syntax, but did a lot of things. We'll do so many things to help you when you want to join the dictionary, the two dictionaries. So from what we learned about these common data types, from numbers, strings, list, tuple, set, and dictionary. Now you have some feeling that these data types have shared certain functions that can be interchangeably used. Okay, so the same function can be used with several data types. On the opposite hand, some functions could only be used for certain or for a specific data type as well. So how could I know this, อาจารย์? You will learn and you will know it by experience. Okay, you will learn and you will try, make a trial and error. I think it's the best starting for a mature programmer, because when you learn that this function is usable for this data type, when you try it with another data type and it gives you error, so then you learn it that this function is not usable or not applicable to this data type. Then next time you perhaps try not to use it again. But it is common that when we learn during the learning process, we can repeat similar errors for a few times. When we learn that many times in the past we did this error, we made this error, so hopefully the next time, the following time, you will avoid it. You learn to avoid it. Okay, this gonna be the processes that happen through the exercise, through working on the exercise, through practicing. Okay, I always say this now over and over many times, because I want you to understand that I know that you will complain there's so many questions in the exercise. I'm tiring in typing and I'm tiring in reading. But for the progress, I think once you pass this tiring practice, tiring process, things will get better, things will be quicker. The next topic that I want to expand a little bit on the lecture this week is about the flow control, which will be the main exercise for this week. Okay, so the style that we learn, you will be introduced some concepts, and then you will learn in details by yourself from the reading of particular book chapters and work on the assigned exercise. You might wonder, อาจารย์ why this week you did not give me or teach me in details about flow control, because the exercises that I'm being assigned to work for this week will be about flow controls. That is a reason or rationale behind this. It is intention. It is my intention, because you've been giving the concept, and then after that I would like, or I prefer to be yourself, to be you yourself, to expand the concept I deliver to you by reading the books and practicing through the exercise. And next week I be back and wrapped up and gave more details, so it seem to you, or it will be occurred to you 3 times. The first time I gave an introduction, and then second time you study and practice on your own for the chapter and the exercise, and for the third time I wrap up, I pinpoint on particular errors, on particular patterns or knowledge in the lesson, and we moved on. Okay, this gonna be the learning style that I decide to try with you guys in this semester. Okay, and I have to say that it's kind of the teaching programming is kind of challenging. I could say that for each semester or each academic year that I taught programming, I use different teaching style. I use different resources. Okay, and but also for slides, your senior could tell you that the slide I used for this year was not the same. It's not the same as the slide that they learned when during 2 years ago or 3 or 4 years ago. So this is kind of a good thing to learn and to modify the lesson. Okay, so this is to make programming lesson not boring. Okay, and you will I'm sure that you will not fall asleep if you keep working on the exercise. Okay, so be patient and try to keep making progress. In a week, the exercise given to you, I decide for you to work on it a little bit every day, or maybe 1 to 2 hours a day. So you have managed to do it daily. So if you continue working or practicing daily, it will strengthen, and you will be familiarized with the syntax, with the language, and within 1 or 2 months, I think all these basics will diffused and rememorized in your brain. So you could when you want to write your own script or your own code, you could do it, you could write it without opening the book. But you might do it at the beginning, that's fine, but later on when you get the skill, you can write it without looking at the book. Okay, this is what I hope each of you could develop this skill. For the flow control, there are two major flow control structure. The first one is conditioning or relational sentence or relational structure, where we set a condition to check the statement, whether it will be false or true. So this condition is important. So whatever you want the program to check from the input that the program accepts, so the condition will check and fork or divert the program into different routes depending on the number of conditions. In this case, the condition will separate the program or will fork the program into 2 directions. The first direction when the condition is true, and the second condition when the second direction when the condition is false. Okay, so it reduce the number of times that the program will spend instead of doing everything at the same time. Making the condition will reduce unnecessary steps or unnecessary codes that the program shall not do because of the condition did not fall into. Okay, and the program will select or will decide to do only just when the condition is right. Okay, so this is the good thing about conditioning. Conditioning is for the program to make decision, for the program to decide, or for you to tell the program about what to do. This is an example. We give the value of 82 to a variable named grade, and we use if statement. If statement will follow by the condition. This is condition to be checked, and ended with colon. Ended the condition line or the if line with colon. And you can see if only one condition, then that's fine. What happened on the next line? So there is a space here. There is a space here. This is called indentation. Indentation is made by typing tab button. Okay, so when you will type the commands inside the if condition, so if the if condition correct, the code or the command after this will be run. So how did you know? How do you know that these are the code inside this condition? Because of this indentation. The indentation in Python is used to specify whether the code, or to specify that the code is inside a block, like this block of code is inside or has to be run under this condition of if. And the next if, you can see here, the next if has its condition finished with colon. And if this condition, if the grade equals to 100, what will this part do? The program or the command inside this if will be this one, print a plus. So you can see another indentation. So this next indentation is used to say that this command belongs to this condition, or this command will be executed only when this condition is true. If this condition is false, the command here won't be run. It will jump to else and execute the command inside the else. You can see that this is another indentation to say that this command is part of the else. Okay, so this is two direction. So if the grade equals to 100, you get a plus. If not, you get just A. See, there is two direction separated by if and else. Okay, then this condition is inside this big A, this big if. We call this pattern nested if condition. Nested if condition. So this is the first condition. If the grade greater than or equal to 90, there will be two more options, two more conditions to check. But if the grade is lesser than 90, then it will jump to the second condition, separated or checking by using else if. See, for the second condition, the grade is greater than or equals to 80. What will do? This is an indentation. It will do this command, print B. Okay, And the third condition, if the grade greater than or equals to 70, it will print C. You can see there is this indentation to say that this command belongs to this condition. This command will be executed if this condition is correct or true. Okay, and if it is the last condition or the final condition, you use else. And you can notice that there is no condition specifying in the else because it does not need to. Just the remaining will be followed by calling this command. Okay, this is another indentation, and this is the command following else. See, this is called the structure of if, else, if, and else. So when you have more than two conditions, if you have one condition, you use if, just if, that's fine. If you have two conditions, you use if and else. If you have more than two conditions, you use if, else, if, and else. Okay, this is for conditioning. For repetition or for loop control. For the loop control, there are two structures that you can use. The first one is to use for loop. How to use for loop? The syntax of using for loop will begin with for, okay, for, and then a variable to be checked, and in a range of values. Okay, and what for will do? Finish the for line by colon. What this line will do? For will assign x with each value in this range. Okay, for range 10 means the value from 0, 1, 2, 3 until 9. So each value will be assigned to x. And what will happen after the assignment of each value to the x variable? The command on the next line will be the command under the for loop, okay, which will print the value of x in each round. So the first value being assigned to x, and then the program will print x, then next value will be assigned and the value will be printed again. So it will be looped. When this loop will finish, the loop will finish when the assignment of the value approaches the last value, the last number. Then the loop will finish, the loop will end. Second, while loop or while repetition. This loop is required more lines of commands than for loop, and the important command that must be specified in constructing the while loop is an initiator. This is initiator. So the beginning value, you need to specify a variable and give initiator value or initiating value to this variable to be the starting to be the starter. And then while loop will start by checking the initiator value with the condition, with the specified condition. So this is a condition. So if the condition is true, the while sentence will finish with colon, and then the next line, all the commands inside the while loop will be indented. So these two lines of command is under or are inside the while loop. Okay, so when the while loop check the condition, and if the condition is true or correct, then it continue this command, and then the next one, the next line or the second line of command here is also another important things that you need to make the loop continue and finish. Okay, this plus and equal sign is used for increment. Mean the value of x will be increased by 1 each round. So if it is 0 now, then it will be 0 plus 1, so it is 1. Next round it will be 1.1, which is 2. Next round it will be 2.1, 2 plus 1, which is 3. Next round it will be 3 plus 1, which is 4, and so on, until the condition over here is wrong and the loop will finish. So instead of writing x plus equal 1, you can write x equals to x plus 1. Okay, but we shorten it to this syntax, which is just one letter shorter, one character shorter. So what you cannot miss in making the while loop is an initiator, the first one, and the increment. This is the most important, two most important for the construction of the while loop. Opposite the increment could be used, is called decrement. So it will be reduce the number by specified value every time, and you can also use other operators for this repetition as well. And I think examples can be found in the textbook and on the previous slide. I think these are all the lectures for this week, and the exercise that I will assign for you guys for this week will be about the flow control. So take your time reading the content about the flow control, the if, the for, and the while, and I would like you to do an exercise to 3.1 and 3.2. Okay, 3.1 and 3.2. The assignments will be opened on the Google Classroom of this subject, and in the afternoon session, if I come back in time, so we will meet to wrap up, to catch up with everyone. But if I cannot return to KU in time, so you will have the TA to help you if you have problems. And I think some question at the end of the exercise 3.1 and 3.2 might need more time, might need brainstorming. So you can work on some questions in the exercise by working in group, or have a group discussion to work or to co-work in order to find solution for the exercise. Okay, for today lecture. Thank you everyone, and we will see you in the class next week or in the afternoon. Okay, thank you everyone. Bye bye.